people, not just like Sharma or I, but other people in the group. They have their own ideas, and if you respect them, you end up considering everything they're saying. So yeah, I was just doing 2021. Unless you want to go back further, I just figured this is all we really have to do.
Yep, doesn't matter.
All right, guys, give us some dates, whatever you guys want, right in the chat. Can you guys see the chat on the screen? Also, let me pull up YouTube stream on here so I can see in the comments.
Yep. I'm also gonna, while we're doing this, I'm gonna pull up some articles and just get ready for the weekly outlook on the side too.
There you go. Awesome. Everyone have a productive weekend? What did you guys do?
What did everyone do?
Nobody did anything.
No, I had a productive weekend.
Yes, back testing. Jody, let's go.
I was sitting here talking with but I was muted, so I'm sorry about that.
You're good, man. All right. So you have 3 people on YouTube. That's cool. Little showing. All right. So October 6th, 2017. So Logan and also Bear, like when it comes to back testing, you have so much data, especially if you're a scalper, that if you only go back 2 years, that's perfect. Anything past 2 years, I think, is like, I don't want to say irrelevant data. It's good practice to go all the way back there if like you've already back tested 2020, 2022, 2021, the current dates, but it's best to go back like 2 years, especially with COVID happening. Like so much has changed already. The markets have changed, but let's keep it in like this year, and then we'll do some scalping, seeing what we can get. Okay, so October 3rd, 2020. Cool. Why is that not coming up here?
It's not.
We got a bunch of dates coming up. Oh, because that was 2020. That's why. But it only goes to, let me go back. Hold on. I haven't used this thing in a while. 20 dates. All right, cool. And, all right, we'll just go with like, okay, June 20th. Cool. We'll do June 13th. Since that's a Sunday, we'll start with that day. We'll get into it. Shoma, what'd you do this weekend?
I caught up on a lot of work, like school work for sure. Got midterms coming up. Worked on some of the stuff for the project as we're getting ready for our launch. And then catching up with students. So got on like a bunch of Zoom calls with a lot of students and helping them, again, create the game plan because the market conditions are changing. So I want to make sure that everybody's prepared to end the year off strong.
100%. 10,000, good?
Yep.
Generic leverage 500. Go back.
You go with 500? I go with
okay,
200.
Wait, you want to go 100?
I do 200.
200? Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. Start Sam.
Apparently, there's leverage for 1,000 too, and I didn't know that. Someone told me about that.
On this?
On some brokers like Live Account.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So charts.
Yeah, so everyone on YouTube, we have a couple of people here who are watching. Feel free to take some trades with us here. So if you want to take a trade, just go ahead and put it into the chat. Where do you want to take a trade and all that type of stuff. And then first half is going to be all simulation. Second half, we're going to do a weekly outlook. So you guys will get both pretty much. And hopefully this is going to be a good preparation going into the new week. We're heading into holidays, so the market conditions are going to change a bit. You are going to see some setups that you would trade normally, but sometimes they're just not going to work out because again the market conditions are changing. So hopefully this is going to be a good review, and if you guys have any questions, always feel free to reach out. So I'm getting ready for the fundamental outlook while Stephanos is getting the simulator ready.
There you go. It should be good. We haven't done this together in a couple of months, I think.
Yeah, it's been a minute. first week of the Biden administration. That was a wreck. That was a wreck.
Is that Jen? Guys, if you guys don't have this software, highly recommend it. Like, I couldn't stress that enough.
Yeah. I mean, the TradingView replay, that works well too for some time. But when you jump across time frames on there, you will see like new candles forming, or some of the candles they're not there. So it's good if you're starting off, right? Like very basic, just replay stuff. But the FX, SoftFX right here is very good in general.
100%. I'm going to actually put the video off to the side. I don't know if that works. Can you guys see it?
Yeah, they could see whatever's like on my screen. So I have the video up.
You see the video?
Yeah.
Alright. I was just gonna say, just so that we have more like room on the screen, you know.
Mhm. It's too dark.
Stand a bit further.
This is fine. Whatever. All right, there we go.
Also, can you guys hear me clearly? Like it sounds like I'm using a microphone, or is it coming through like the computer? Like it sounds.
No, we could hear you
Microphone.
clearly.
Microphone?
Sounds good.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Alright, so at this point we just reached 156 up here on the monthly. Let me just. Alright, that should be good. Just want to scale these. Just move them around a little bit. Equity down there. All right, perfect. So
You can't turn on captions on a live, right?
what was that?
You can't turn on captions for YouTube Live, right?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I really haven't played around with Streamlabs.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure there's a couple videos that you can watch online on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of like how to navigate that, but all right, so we will dig into GJ over here. So obviously, like I just said, we did reach 156 by June 13th. Well, this is 14th now, but New York closed. We're using the time for that. But again, we just reached 156 up here, so we're going to mark that off. Obviously, as our first key point that we want to pay attention to. And then Sharma, if you want to add in whatever you do, just let me know.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So again, 156, one level that we always mark off over here. So obviously we reach a significant resistance on the monthly. And then if you go back even further, obviously you see a lot of rejection from 156 as well. But we finally reached it. Now we're getting that rejection over here. So we got to see, when are we going to end up breaking through there and continuing up? I know we have a cleaner move to the left once we do break. I want to say the 158 is our next target, which is what, we ended up. That was the fate of GJ. That's where we ended up reaching before we were in that bearish decline. So over here, you have that recovery from COVID as well. The price is kind of like pushing up. Let's go to the weekly now.
Well, before you go into the weekly, I would do the support.
Do what?
I would create the support what was the last support that price made, right? So that's kind of your range that price is in.
Good point.
So right into that area.
And I would say that's about it. 149 obviously is that significant support over here that we ended up coming down into. But that's it for the monthly?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now coming into the weekly, it's a little bit more crowded over here. Actually, I didn't clone this. Coming into the weekly, obviously we had that level 152.28. Let me just zoom out real quick. We'll adjust that. I would say you got these candle body closes. We're right around 149.400.
Mm-hmm.
I'll actually just make that perfect.
So if you guys are just hopping on, whether it's on Zoom or on YouTube, The first half is going to be simulation, and the second half is going to be weekly outlook. So as we're analyzing this, if you guys have any questions, feel free to just put into the comment, unmute yourself and ask. If you want to take trades with us, then go ahead and, again, unmute or just put into the chat.
Please don't be afraid to speak up either. Like, if you guys see something or, you have a question about something, like, just let us know.
Yeah.
We're not going to bite. So, again, looking at the weekly, you got that rejection off the 156 level.
Mm-hmm.
We have a previous resistance right over here, 153, psychological level. Previous resistance over here, rejection point. So that could be a potential support that we end up reaching. Also, we could come right over here as well. If you take a look at these wicks, so we could end up, touching it, previous resistance level as well. So let's keep an eye on these two levels and see where what just happened. See where we're at. Just looking at the daily. Just gonna get rid of some of the mess over here. 149, 400 we could keep. And all over the place over here. And we got that previous support that we're starting to come down into. We got a bearish trend. I'll zoom in. Hard rejection off this 156 level. We're starting to make those lower highs, lower lows. Coming down, we got that previous resistance right over here that we can start measuring off.
And notice the wick rejections too, right? Right into that area and how these candles are closing.
You say to the left over here or right here?
Both of them.
100%. So this candle, if you look, we reached 156, lower highs, but now we're starting to stall off over here.
Mm-hmm.
Significant level. This is the daily too. So these are strong levels over here. This is not the 15 minute.
Yeah.
So right over here, you got this hard rejection, price coming back into the zone, but closing bullish, right? This candle looks like it created a top wick, never really passed the high of that one. Is it flipping bearish to continue down? What time is it? We're actually going to fast forward to Sunday open. And do you want to go to Monday?
Yeah, let's do that.
Do Monday? Okay.
So what I want you guys to, in addition to whatever, Stefanos is saying, also realize that this is price consolidating for the past couple of days, about 5 days or so on the daily time frame. The higher the time frame, the stronger these levels are going to be. So if the market's consolidating on a daily time frame, just know that you're probably not going to be finding a swing trade opportunity on the 4 hour, 1 hour, 30 minute, 15 minute, any of those, until these levels here are broken.
Okay.
Now, does anyone have any questions so far?
I'm good right now.
Cool.
I'm with you.
Everything makes sense? Cool. So
Yes.
Right now it's 6 a.m. Monday, June 14th. So right now, price opened up. We're still kind of in this range. We got to see where price is going to go, but we are in a bullish trend.
Mm-hmm.
So you really got to be aware of taking any kind of sells. But as we know, 156 is a very significant resistance. So we could definitely be catching plays on the way down. But these are the times that you want to stay out of consolidation, but also pay attention like where you place your stop loss. Also wait for retests, right?
Yep.
Make sure that you're waiting for all your confirmations whenever you're taking a sell against the market trend. So looking over here at the 4 hour now, we ended up forming some sort of previous resistance. Now it's support over here. But right now we're still making these lower highs and lower lows. I wish we had more data to the left. Do we have any comments? Okay. Okay, so right now we made this lower low, but now we're starting to, are we going to end up retesting that to continue right back down?
Mm-hmm.
Once we end up breaking this support over here, got this consolidation that you're entering to continue down, but we're paying attention mainly to this level right here, 153, 528.
And if you
That we
need
can
to, actually draw out these lines to kind of understand it, so you can visually see where's that structure actually being broken. Like on the daily time frame, on the 4 hour time frame, if you need to draw like the trend line that Stefanos has, for example, if price breaks above that, the chances are we're just going to continue bullish, right? So that's where you have that bearish structure break. And then you also have like a a higher time frame structure on the daily time frame, for example, a bullish structure to the upside. So when does that bullish structure break? Does that break when this blue zone that we have here is broken, or does it break when you have that consolidation support right there being broken, right here? So don't be afraid of actually drawing out these lines if you need to visually see it.
You're saying like right here?
Yeah, so if you zoom out a bit more.
Okay.
If you zoom out a bit more.
Sure.
So this.
You wanted to annotate.
Yeah, so this entire structure right here. So that's your bullish structure, right? So when does that bullish structure break? Does it break when price breaks below here? Does it break when price breaks below here and retests? Does it break? You know, these are levels that you can identify as price taps into them over and over and over again.
And whenever we break these levels over here, I'm just about always looking for that retest. Yeah. Always. Especially in such a bullish trend over here. But right now we're starting to get below the 50 EMA over here on the 4 hour. But somebody said in the chat that they wanted to see the daily trend again. Again, you see these lower highs being created. This support over here, kind of consolidation right until we end up tapping that bearish trend to confirm the trend, and then we continue right back down. Yeah. So there you go. Perfect.
Yeah. So then in this case, if you continue bullish, and let's say this is the entire zone that, you know, Stefanos has marked off, now you start to narrow in into your price action. When you start to do that, this is all consolidation here, right? And then even down here, you have like some momentum to the downside, but if price were to break up below this area right here, then that's a break of structure. Then where are you headed next, right? Those are some of the questions I can ask yourself. Well, you want to see a retest here and then continuation down. If price gives you another break and retest here, then a continuation down. Then you have great opportunities to the downside.
You want those clear setups on the way down too, you know, especially when you're trading in this, right? You start to enter that area. Just wait for those clean setups, and also go back and forth with the time frames too. Don't forget to do that. Just going back and forth with the daily, the 4 hour, the 1 hour. Okay, things are looking good. Maybe we're getting a nice retest after breaking that support. This looks good on the higher time frames, the 4 hour, the 1 hour. All right, maybe I could start taking the sell right back down to this level. Maybe we end up getting some clean moves that way. It's not always gonna consolidate like this one when entering it. You just got to make sure you're getting the setups that you like. Is that good for the daily?
Yep.
Yes. Cool.
I'm just I'm just gonna put in the YouTube chat for everyone who comes in and goes out. That the first half is simulation, second half is weekly outlook.
There you go. Perfect. You know, we can actually do too.
Perfect.
Just makes it clear for everyone. I'm gonna like make this text smaller.
I think if you double click on it, it should open up the properties for you. Or even like right click or something like that.
I think it's good.
That's
Sorry. Whatever. I'm not going to spend too much time doing that. But so anyway, as we see over here, we had this previous support over here. And if you drag this to the left, get a significant level over here. You had this kind of support. Price came right back above it, held support again. Now we're holding support over here. Ended up breaking, but coming right back up to retest that previous level and confirm the bearish trend.
Yep.
Now you got price breaking that level right over here. We got that clean close below. So could we possibly be coming up to retest this area to continue right back down, or maybe even come right back into the range, hold another resistance somewhere around here,
and then continue pushing? Yep.
Somewhere around here, yeah, you get some kind of like fake out, and then we come down and retest that low and retest these lows over here. Absolutely. But then we're going to start to, you have a clean candle right here, clean candle right here, here, and these two right here. So you may be able to get a clean move right over here after this retest. But once you start getting into here, is where you gotta start going risk free a little bit sooner, or consider your sells once you get into there. Kind of I don't want to say second guess, but start to understand that maybe you're getting into some sticky waters over here.
Stefan,
what's up, buddy?
Aren't we in a bullish buying structure?
Yes, we are, but we're currently bouncing off a very high or a very significant resistance over here, 156. So you got to understand that, like, we're going to be bouncing off that. We could very well come up and retest that area again, 156 again, before continuing down. But with something like this.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
You're good.
Sure. So I should be looking for buys, right?
You should, but right now we're making lower lows and lower highs. Does that make sense? Like, even in the higher time frames, like, you're paying attention, like, when you're scalping, all right, what's the weekly candle look like? Is the weekly candle bearish or bullish? All right, so maybe if the weekly candle is bearish and it's a strong bearish, maybe that week the pair is pretty weak, right? Maybe the daily candle is bearish as well. So the previous three weekly candles, or the previous two, have been bearish. Right?
Yeah.
The daily. What was it?
I was going to say, I forgot we're looking we're looking for a small trade here.
Well, yeah, we can take those little jabs at the market and paying attention to market structure and the way candles form. You can take those quick jabs, but that's why I'm saying you're basically calling tops up here, but you're waiting for retests. And that's what I always stress. I always stress, like, if you're going to try and call tops, make sure that the nearest higher time frame support gets broken, cleanly closed below. You get that retest, and then maybe you could take that trade. Maybe you could grab that quick. And then plus you're paying attention to fundamentals, which is what Sharma and I are always talking about.
Yeah. So basically think about it like, higher time frames are made up of smaller time frames, right? So pretty much, I'm going to annotate here real quick, right? So the daily time frame is looking like this, right? So now break that down a bit more. In order for daily time frame to do that, it has to retrace, right? There's only two ways that the market collects orders: retracements or consolidation. We have clear retracements that are happening. In order for this move to happen on the daily time frame, what do we need to see on the 4-hour time frame?
Retracement.
Right. So now if your 4 hour is also bullish, then that supports this bullish move, right? In order for price to make this move down here, it needs to break the bullish structure that it has been making. Make sense? Yes. And then it creates like that support, and then it continues pushing back up and looks like that.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes.
So then that's where the point of, like, okay, well, I go onto the daily time frame or the weekly time frame, and then I look at the structure. Okay, well, here's the structure. I'm okay with price doing this. I can catch those moves. But I know that if price breaks below, let's say, this zone right here that we have between these two rectangles, if price breaks that, then we're breaking the daily bullish structure. That's when you can start looking for swing sell opportunities.
Gotcha. So okay.
Anything in between would be scalps or day trades.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Like me personally, I'm always, not always, but most of the time I'm looking for those little scalps, like 10, 15 pips. Like, that's all you need in a day, right? You have a reasonable stop loss, 1-to-1 or 1-to-2 with 10 pip stop loss. You're looking for 10, 15, 20 pips a day. Getting like 2 trades like that, you're going to be doing really well. That's why it's good to keep it simple. A lot of people, especially in business, we always talk business, they think that they can put their hands in like every single different business, and like that's what you want to do. But really, you need to focus on one thing in the beginning and simplify everything for yourself, and then branch out. Like Sharma started with one business, and she branched out from there. She just got better at other things. She alleviated her time by hiring other people, and was able to branch off into something else. It's the same thing with trading.
Yeah, you gotta have a system in place, right? If I wanna, for example, my real estate business, I don't really do much in that, right? But I have people who do the work for me. It's me and my business partner. We take care of certain things, and then we hire other people to take care of other things for us. But you need to do that work in order to have a system in place. Same thing with trading. For GJ, let's say, for example, if you're scalping, which is, I guess, one of the best ways to learn if you're starting off, you have to have a system in place, a strategy in place, that you can then implement regardless of whatever time frame that you're using. And then next time you move on to, let's say, USD JPY, so now you know exactly how JPY moves in general because you have traded GJ. So if anything happens with USD JPY, you have a system in place that has been proven successful for GJ, and that's something that you can bounce back on.
100%. So yeah, basically what Sharma just said. All right. Let's get into the 4 hours. So again, like I said, we could be getting that retest right here to continue right back down, or we could come right back into this range and then continue right back down.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, we cloned everything, I believe. Just trying to make sure you guys can see everything on the YouTube stream. All right. Right now we can adjust this. All right, so this is that level over here that we were just talking about. So again, could get that retest. Let's see if candles close in our direction. Or what happens if we end up getting this higher low over here, price comes right back into this range, then what do you know? We end up coming up to retest this area because we are in an overall bullish trend over here.
Yep.
So we could end up breaking this area. This could be a fake out. This is the higher low on the higher time frames on the 1 hour.
Yep.
And forming a support where we retest this level, high significant level, get a clean move to the left, candles closing in their direction. Maybe you can take a buy up here. Quick scalp. Again, 5, 10, 15 pips in here. This whole range is 36. So you just got to go by what you see, not what you think. And you got to have multiple biases. You got to have that main bias, which is what you ultimately think. But, what if price does the opposite? What then? Do you have a plan, or you just, you're going to sit there?
Yep. And that's the whole system that you're supposed to have.
Exactly. All right. So we're I just want to get rid of this. I don't like that. So again, nice rejection. This candle actually closed with no bottom wick. Right over here, no bottom wick. So what does that tell you? It's either 50-50. It could very well continue right back down, but it's 50-50 that, it could end up retracing over here. Let's see how price ends up reacting in this level. I'm just going to scale this. That's the 30-minute, and all we really need to go down and do is the 15. There we go. The Zoom dashboard always gets in the way. All right, so let's start playing it. Right over here, we're going to use visual mode. If you guys have magic keys, it's basically like using magic keys. Risk percentage, real time. Anybody have any questions?
You might want to zoom in a little bit more. There you go.
Yeah. So here we go, price coming back. And guys, this is so powerful for you guys to do on a Sunday night before the week, right? Even, sometimes if you know you're going to have a slow day fundamentally on the economic calendar, wake up a little bit earlier, wake up an hour earlier and get a back testing session in and just train your eyes, get yourself warmed up. All these little things, it's really in the details. If you guys want success, these little things that you guys pay attention to and do that you think are tedious, most people aren't doing them, and that's why, they're probably not successful. The journaling, the back testing.
Yep. And this is how you start to learn about, the details of the candles, right? So what does it mean if the candle doesn't pass the previous wick, right? Or what does it mean if it's rejecting a certain level? Or if it's tapping into a consolidation area? How do you know when exactly to take your entry? When do you know price is going to start consolidating? Those kind of things. We have a question. Hi guys, do you both prioritize your main bias for buy sells, or do you have your main bias from higher time frame and then a lower time frame direction? And what about when your higher time frame bias and lower time frame direction are the opposite? You want to answer that one first?
Yeah, I mean, what I basically do, let me just read that over again.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I said before, I always have that main bias, right? I always have like, okay, like we're in a bearish trend on the higher time frames recently, right? So I'm really looking for some sell opportunities over here, and as you can see, looks like we could be forming that resistance. Candles haven't closed yet. Wait for candles to close in your direction. Don't worry, you're not going to miss this, and if you do, you do. Who cares? Mm-hmm. But just wait for candles to close right now, because again, on the higher time frames, we are bullish. We're making higher highs and higher lows. But we know that we're bouncing off 156, which is something that if you've been trading GJ, we were waiting months for, right? Many months for. So it finally reached the area. We know that like banks, institutions are taking profit from that area, and we're going to see a slight decline a little bit.
Yep.
So right over here, again, I know that GJ is bullish in my mind, but right now it's honestly current. Like right now, this is currently happening as well with us. Right, we bounce off 158 after reaching 158, and now we're in that bearish trend where we've been catching some nice sells in the past couple of weeks. Right, but we know we're in that ultimate higher time frame bullish area. But right now, it's starting to seem like equities and all the markets right now are starting to go risk off based on everything going on. So, we could have reached that peak on GJ right now for a little bit, and right now we can end up consolidating possibly till February on the higher time frames. Actually, not consolidating till February, but for a couple of weeks, right? Until we get that data in February.
What I personally do is I look at the higher time frames, right? Because my goal is again to turn the scalps into swing trade opportunities, or at least understand what are the restrictions of my trade. So I'm going to start off with the daily time frame. I'm going to start off with the weekly, the monthly, take a look at what's happening there. If those time frames are telling me that price is starting to retrace, it's consolidating, then I know that I'm probably not going to be looking for a scalp to a swing. Maybe it's just going to be a scalp opportunity. So I do prioritize my higher time frame bias, because that will tell me where is price headed. Mm-hmm. And then when I drop down to lower time frames, I just wait for that time frame to be in a line with whatever higher time frames are telling me, and then that's what I trade based off of.
Guys on YouTube, is this coming in like clear for you? Maybe it's my YouTube setting.
Yeah.
I have a question real quick, if that's okay.
Yeah,
of course.
Hey, do you pick your targets on the higher time frames?
Yes. So I pick my targets based off the daily, I pick my targets based off the 4-hour time frames, and then I have partials when I drop down to the 1 hour or 30 minute.
The higher the time frame, Jody, the stronger they are. So just keep that in mind. Now you see why we didn't take that sell right there once we passed the low, like just getting trigger happy, thinking that we're gonna miss this trade. Mm-hmm. Just stand back. It's only Monday, right? Monday at 6:30. So right now what I'm looking for is, are we going to get like some kind of a retest here, or is this going to be a fake out where we do continue down? But if we get a retest and candles closing bullish, you might be able to grab a quick buy. We got to see how many pips we have right here. See, that's only a 10 pip range, but this also is the 15 minute, but this was a previous resistance on the 30 minute. So you only have 10 pips right here that you could catch. I aim for 10 pips. So if I have a 10 pip range, realistically, maybe I get 6 or 7 of them, maybe 8 sometimes, but you really got to make sure that you're paying attention to the ranges, and it should be in like a checklist for you in order for you to take entries.
Give me 1 second
stop
here.
Loss, same time frame. The stop loss is based on the time frame that you enter the trade on. Yep. So if you all your levels are based on the daily, the 4 hour, the 1 hour, but you're trading on the 30 minute, your stop loss should be based on the 30 minute.
Absolutely. So another thing before you click play that I would do if I was analyzing this is, if we can go back up to the daily and the 4 hour real quick.
I hope I'm not blinding anybody with this zit I got over the weekend. Jesus.
You're fine, dude.
You're good.
So
the hair looks so good, I didn't even notice.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
So on the daily time frame, what I would do personally is, like, I got this entire zone of like all these wick rejections, right? So I need to understand that if price breaks above those wicks, that's the only way that I have a trade opportunity, to make it even clear, like exactly where these candles are closing. So now that's my range that I can trade potentially. If I'm looking simply for a scalp, like you said, 10-15 pips, if that's what you go for, then that's what you're going to be trading. So understand that's one of your restrictions of your trade. Then I would drop down to the 4-hour time frame, take a look at what's going on there. In order for me to look for any buy opportunity, I need to see this 4-hour candle closing bullish above this area. The next one making some sort of a bottom wick rejection, or at the very least breaking above this right here. So then that way, what I end up doing is avoiding all this consolidation that happened here, wick rejections, all these wick rejections here as well, and then I have this clean move to the upside, and then maybe even come back and target the previous highs as we have tapped into previous highs previously. When that happens, then I drop down to the 1 hour and then wait for a confirmation there, or the 30-minute time frame, and then look for the trade opportunity.
Two things. Great point about this area over here as well, because like I put it at the candle body, the horizontal line. You got that rejection right here with the EMA. Also, you got the previous resistance right over here, previous level where price is just tapping into. So maybe that would be a safer buy area for you to get in there. But again, you're in this huge consolidation. I'm going to change the color of my tools over here so that it's not confusing. But this whole area is just like a range. But watch what happens when you break out of this whole area on the higher time frame. You get a range right up into here. Right? A little bit cleaner, right?
Yep.
So, you're fighting the market taking buys in here. But again, you could be getting quick little scalp buys up here for them price to then continue right back down, and you grab part of this move. So again, it's all about trading based on what you see, not what you think.
Yep.
You got to be fluid. You got to be, able to adapt in certain environments.
Yep. Understand what's the restriction of your trade. A lot of people get stuck in this, and I was talking to some of my people about this too, where you get stuck in this, I'm just going to do this. A lot of people, they're like, I'm just going to take 10 pips, and then once you're sitting at like 8 pips or so, they increase their TP, and they're like, well, I'm going to try to go for 40 pips. It looks like there's a range of 40 pips. Now I'm just going to go for 10 pips. I'm just going to go for 40 pips. And price goes to like 35 pips. You haven't secured anything because you're like, oh, it's only 5 pips away from my TP. Comes back, takes you out, and you're like, I should have just stuck to my original. So understand what's the restriction of your trade.
Guys, write that down, because I think that's a top 5 thing that holds scalpers back, specifically scalpers. Right? You're always, that greed always kicks in if you're not like aware of it.
Yep.
So again, like I said, top 5 things that contribute to a scalper failing. It's just getting that. If you have a target, you're securing at that target no matter what.
Yep.
You gotta respect what you say you're gonna do. You gotta respect the way you're gonna trade. And if you don't, the market's gonna rip you up.
Yep. Or take partials and then move your stop loss to break even or trail it.
Go risk free.
Yep.
But you need to secure at that point. So it gets very sticky in here.
Yep.
But again, there's definitely plenty of moves to be taken. Like the recent candles on the 1 hour are all clean. Right? And then you got these candles right here. So you can definitely grab a move.
Yep.
So let's see what we got. 1 hour is starting to come right back into that range. But again, we could always get that fake out where price then continues right back down. These candles start getting weaker, right, in form of resistance. And then we break below this area, get a close below that area, then you can take this right back down.
So let's say this hourly close is bullish, right? Since we're sitting in that range, if this hourly close is bullish, I want to see a retest here. 30-minute, 15-minute wouldn't give me enough confirmation. 30-minute, and then a push back up. But again, restriction of your trade, 10-15 pips. If this hourly closes right here and the next candle just takes you right back down and there's no like retest and continuation up, then again, I want to see a break and retest below the blue zone, right? So what are your some steps? What's your checklist? That's pretty much what we're talking about here. Trying to adapt to the market. What happens? What are the different scenarios and how do we take those trade opportunities?
Yeah. What does a 15-minute look like?
Sure.
Okay.
Same thing. This candle ended up doing like a little liquidity grab. I'm sure it took a lot of people out right there.
Yep. And now it's coming back and tapping into that consolidation up top there.
Yep. We got a weaker bullish 15-minute that just closed.
Mm-hmm.
Is this 30-minute gonna reject this area and then continue right back down and maybe form a support here to continue up or break below? And you see how like we're going through all these time frames multiple times?
Yep.
Got a little push. So 10 minutes to 7 o'clock.
So notice how that 15-minute candle just closed weak after making a top wick rejection. Now you have a new 15-minute candle that's forming. Yep.
I'm trying to change these colors up because it's starting to get confusing. I think you were writing on the chart before and I couldn't tell what I wrote and what you did. It was like the same exact color blue.
Yeah.
Alright. Nice. Getting a little push up here.
Yep. So I want to see how this hourly closes, and then I want to see some break and retest. We still haven't gotten any sort of break and retest. So even if you go to the 30-minute time frame, not a single bearish candle close.
If you notice, all of London over here was bearish, right? So New York is starting to correct. Pre-New York is starting to correct the London move. We're starting to come up, but we don't have a clear entry over here. You know, you can't get FOMO from this.
Mm-hmm. All right, so made that top wick rejection right there.
Yep.
So now let's see what happens. You got the new hourly candle forming.
And that's the area that Sharma was just pointing out. We just tapped into it.
So now
this candle barely closed at the top wick. Sorry, go ahead.
So now start thinking about, well, if price, what do you need for a buy opportunity and what do you need for a sell opportunity? Right? What are potential levels that you need price to break above? What are potential levels that you need to see respected before you take an entry?
Yeah, what are your, just drawing a blank on the word. Like, what's your criteria, I guess?
Yeah.
Is there anybody, Jody, is there something that you would specifically like to see here or where you think price is going?
I was just waiting on a retest.
Okay, retest.
The question is, when Sharman was it talking about a retest on the lower level or the higher? Yeah, that one right above your arrow. Or retest
right here?
No, underneath. Are we looking for a retest down here?
For a price to come right back down and retest this area?
Right down
for
to
a sell opportunity.
154.557.
There you go. 154. Yeah, I mean, we could potentially get there. We just got to see how these candles close, right? That's the key. Just waiting for these candles to close. There's times that you can take impulse entries. There's many times on GJ you can take impulse entries, but in times like this, just wait. You got nothing to lose.
Every time I do an impulse entry, it seems like I get whacked.
Those are the hardest ones to get down.
It's coming, man. Or you wait. Let's see who else is in here real quick.
Can we check the 4-hour real quick?
We're loose.
Are we building support now? Like on the chart we were just looking at? I guess it was the
30-minute. The 15-minute?
The 50, yeah, like underneath there? Yeah, right there.
We could be. If you take a look also, this is why, you're not trading based off of it, but when you have these moving averages, it's cool seeing how price reacts to them and how they, sometimes form a resistance. So right now, as you guys can see, let me just pause it real quick. It is 7:30. So as a lot of you guys know, we get a nice push from 7:30 to 8 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time on GJ. All right, it's a nice sweet spot. More specifically, 7:45 to 8 o'clock. I think we got one on Thursday. It was a really nice one. And it honestly hasn't been as prevalent recently. Maybe just because we've been getting some ranging markets. But normally around that time, we get that push. So right now we have volume. Right now we're looking at price. And how we're near any kind of psychological level. So 154,700 price starts bouncing off of. We had that previous support over here. We ended up forming support, resistance, bouncing off that level. But now we just created a potential high. Are we creating a support right here to then continue up and retest this wick right here? First of all, do you have enough room? You only have 5 pips there, and then 9 pips up there, and then we potentially get up to 154, 950. But we just keep rejecting this level. We rejected it multiple times right here. We just did again. We came right back below it, closed below it. This bullish candle failed to close above that level again. So let's see if we get a close above this level on the 15-minute before taking any kind of entry. So like I said, 7:45, you get that nice push. So maybe when this 15-minute candle closes, we'll know maybe a clearer direction.
So before you go ahead and press play, can you go into the 30-minute real quick?
Sure.
All right. Yeah, so on this 30-minute, pretty much like the way I'm looking at it is, I'll do a darker color, where it's this candle right here came up and it closed right at the level, right? And it left like this entire range to the downside for this following candle if it wants to come and fulfill it. For me, the main thing is as long as we're not continuing below this level, I think we have valid buy opportunities. That's exactly where you have that break and retest before that massive pushback down. Just extend that over to the left, and what do you see happening here, right? You got that support, you got that resistance, you got consolidation right into that area. So if we make this bottom wick rejection and we flip back up bullish, let's say potentially break above these areas, then we have some clear buy opportunities that we could look for coming up to here or even maybe up top here. And then depending on higher time frames, we could have a TP level set even higher, right? But again, what's the restriction of your trade? In this case, my bad. What price is doing is just continuing this bear structure to the downside. So there's a very high chance we come back, maybe even tap into this consolidation support right here before that massive sell-off, maybe tap into that area and then continue pushing down. But if I'm looking for a quick scalp buy opportunity, then we could have a potential buy opportunity as we break above this and then take some partials maybe into these areas and then look for a full TP here. Or if you want to let runners go, then make sure that you take some partials, move to break even or trail your stop loss, and then maybe you could target these areas here from higher time frames.
So 2 things. Kat just asked what moving averages I use. I just keep the 50 and the 200 on there. Just helpful standard. I think a lot of traders actually use that don't actually trade based on them. They just keep them on the chart. I like them. But the second thing is I want you guys to know the psychological part of this is like me looking at this throughout the session. I'm completely content already right now not taking a trade during the session. Right, and that's how I look at the live market sometimes. When you get things like this, I'm completely content not taking a trade, and that's where a lot of you guys have to be, especially if, as a trader, you lean more towards the greed side instead of the fearful side. So you guys got to work on that and being able to tell yourself, "I'm cool not trading." Like I was just going over with Stipe on the Zoom with him today. Jody, how many times did I kind of lead by example this past week or the week before during GJ's consolidation? How many times was I just like, I'm cool not trading?
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
There you go. Yeah, it was just.
I think you took a trade on Friday.
I think I did too. I got to go back and look.
Yeah.
But
I saw it on Instagram.
But it was a win. Yeah, exactly.
It was like 30 pips.
Yeah, I sat there and I waited for it, right? That's what I was waiting for all week. I wasn't comfortable trading in that. So that's where you guys gotta be. And when you get market conditions like this, maybe, there's a lot of indecision right here. We don't know if it's a buy or sell. Like, there's no clear, like, oh, I'm definitely probably going to be taking a sell here. There's like an 80% chance. Right now, it's like 60-40 sell, I would say, just because the London market was so bearish, and now we could end up retracing. Sellers took profit. Now they're going to start coming back in again and start dominating again. Who's in the chat? Safer buy we can have is once the last lower high is broken. Right over here.
A question for both of you. Being that it wasn't a buying uptrend, wouldn't it have been safer to take just buys?
Where?
Being that just that in general, if it was on the higher time frame before or whatever, it was in a buy.
Yep.
So wouldn't it have been safer to take mostly buys than sell? Always says that it's coming down to it liquidity or grabbing orders. Can you sell right now? But I would think it would have been safer to take mostly buys, no?
No, 100%. Fundamentally, right? Pound versus the yen. We're at this point we're pretty bullish going through the summer, right? The yen was pretty weak. It was more of a risk-on environment. But right now, what I'm looking at, like 100%, like that's always in the back of your head. That always should be. But when you're looking at price bouncing off 156, lower lows, lower highs in the weekly, the daily, the 4-hour, clean setups over here, right? As Sharma was just pointing out, like right now, there's a higher chance that we may get a sell during this session than a buy. Is that reasonable?
Gotcha.
So let's play this out. 7:30. I'm really waiting for the 15-minute candle to close to see, do we close above this area or do we end up holding this resistance and starting to come right back down this way?
Okay, I have a quick question, if that's okay.
Yeah.
When you were just on the 15-minute chart.
Just now? Yep.
Yeah. Can you? Now sometimes I get confused here whether I should put that level where it is or right below the candles.
That's something that, as you get more experience.
Are we going up or down?
Exactly. Right now, there's a lot of indecision, and that's why we're not taking any kind of trades right now.
Right.
There's even an indecision of where you place your levels. So that's going to come as you start to get more experience and understand. Right now, the most rejections I'm seeing in this whole environment are right here.
Okay.
And that's why I placed it there.
So there's that, and then it comes back to exactly like, when I was drawing out those trends on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing there, right? Same thing on this time frame as well, where overall you're bearish, right? You're continuing this momentum. What level are we sitting at right now? We're kind of sitting in this area right here, right? With this push up.
Yeah.
Make sense? In order for price to now continue this bearish structure down, if it's going to do it, then what do you need to see happening here, right? And within this little structure itself, again, the market's not just gonna push up. You're also gonna have this, right? So now when you're marking off these levels and you're kind of getting confused, think about it like, well, if price pushes up, it could come back and kind of retest in these areas and then continue pushing back up. So now you can think about, well, do I want to keep a level here or do I want to keep a level down here?
That makes sense. Yeah. So we basically just need to wait.
Yep. So this is where I would take a trade opportunity.
Okay.
I would take a trade here and then keep a stop loss somewhere down here. And the reason why, I'll tell you guys now, is that this is the, what time frame? 15-minute?
This is the, yes.
Okay. So then that means that we've had this candle right here closing bullish, the one before that creating that support, and now this next one is making a bottom wick rejection and it's pushing up. It's breaking above that level that we talked about here on the 30-minute time frame. So now as price continues up, very first thing is I need price to break above this, and then as it breaks above that, then we can start targeting some potential partial areas, maybe right even into that area, take partial or TP, whatever you're comfortable with, and then maybe even let the rest run if you want.
There you go. And as Sharma was just pointing out, we just got that level closed above, right? Also kind of a higher low over here in the 15-minute, right? Closed bullish, got that rejection of this area over here. This candle created its bottom wick past the high of that candle. We have the volume going into 8 o'clock. This could be a potentially good trade. Sharma, the risk you want?
2%. Can we also check the 30-minute time frame?
Sure.
Yeah, there we go. So bottom wick rejection on the 30, and then we're pushing up.
There you go.
So matter of fact, I would keep my stop loss below the current 30-minute wick. Yep.
You want to just put it below both or just closer?
Yeah, that one right there is fine.
Right there? Cool.
Yeah, and the
TP?
reason, a little bit higher. Right there. And the reason why is that's the consolidation support. So even for the stop loss, the reason why I'm keeping it there is because on the 15-minute time frame, we already saw the bottom wick being made. So I'm going to give price enough room to make that bottom wick rejection if it wants to on the 15-minute and then continue pushing forward.
How many pips is the target on that? And the stop loss? I didn't see. Sorry.
The stop loss is 10 pips. This is a 1-to-1.
Okay, a 1-to-1. Okay.
Can you read this right here?
Yes. Yep.
This is just
Got
so
it.
that you can get more used to Soft4fx once you get it. Unless you got it already. You did get it already.
No, I don't have it, but I'm
you
going to
don't?
get it soon.
Okay, cool. So, this is just, it'll help you get used to the platform while you guys are watching us do this.
Yeah.
So, I think we're all set. I just wanted to check all the time frames. As you can see, the weekly as well is starting to flip bullish. And the previous weekly candle was a little bit weaker. Again, at the daily, we're bouncing off that level again. So obviously we're going to get some kind of a rejection, especially if this candle flips bullish, right? If it already flips bullish, it could be continuing right back up, especially after this candle right here. 4 hour, nice and strong bullish candle so far. Still making lower highs, lower lows, but previous 3 1 hour candles have been bullish. So we're going to enter this. That was a 1.1 pip spread. Oh, does anybody else want to take this?
I don't want to take it.
You do?
I don't. I'm just going to watch.
Okay, cool. I like that. Anybody else?
No, I'm sitting on the sidelines.
Okay.
Yes.
Going once, going twice.
I got a question. The confirmation that I have to go along is the break and retest on the 30-minute. That's correct. 30-minute and the 15-minute. So thought process here again is price should not be dropping any lower than this if it's going to continue pushing bullish, but I kept my stop loss here just to give it enough room to fluctuate, but it's tight enough so that if price flips back down and continues back down, then take me out because I'm not going to be a part of that entire massive push down.
Oh, that's good.
That's about actually. If price decide to flip, would you close it before you hit your stop loss?
I usually keep my stop loss to the point where I'm comfortable, where I don't have to close 50%, because if I close 50%, then to me, that's me not being confident in my trade, and I'd rather not take a trade that I'm not confident in.
Gotcha.
And you are confident in this?
100%.
Awesome.
With the setup.
Sweet. That's where I want to be.
That's good.
You'll be there, man. It's going to keep working. Only at the beginning. Now resetting suspense.
Thank you guys for doing this today.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, 100%. I just have to remember which screen is what on, because I'm trying to switch between actually seeing YouTube and then the live streams. And so by accident, one time I swiped on the Zoom one, which is on the other screen. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, is this KOT4X that you're doing this on?
Yeah, well, that's the broker that I put the software on.
So that would be what determined the spread and stuff?
No, this is Dukascopy. Gives us the data, and that's where you download it from. There's another one too. I forget what it's called, but Dukascopy gives you the data, and they make up the spread at the time of whatever broker they have for this, or maybe they're just making it up.
Someone's asking, will we be doing a simulation for gold? We can. I don't think we're going to be doing that today, though. But we will break down the weekly outlook for gold today.
I was so confused right here because it's normally in pips for me.
Yeah.
So I was like, what the hell? Like 114 pips. Stop loss and pips. Cool.
Perfect.
This is looking good. And do you want to do anything right now?
Nothing yet.
Cool. Yeah,
what I'm going to do is take partials actually where the TP is. I'm going to keep the TP at the blue zone that you have up top there. So if you want to modify that.
Got it. So what we're going to do is...
Yep, right there, and then take partials where the current TP is.
Oh no. That was 10 pips right up there.
Interesting to see if we break that trend line or not.
Yep.
Definitely get a little reaction right now. So we could be forming a support on these previous candle body highs on the 5 minute, holding support there, and then continuing right back up. Yeah, this was almost a complete correction of the London move. Almost tapped it.
Yeah, I'll take partials here. It doesn't matter.
What was that?
I would take partials here and then move to break even.
Okay. Let me give you a better price, unless you want me to do it right now.
Dang, you manipulating the trade, Stefanos? I'm just kidding. It doesn't matter. We can wait for the better price.
You wait for the better price?
Yeah.
It's your trade.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just
fine.
controlling it.
I personally don't take it until it hits that very point.
Okay. You stay patient.
Yep.
It's good.
Because if you look at it from a data perspective or from a technical perspective, there's nothing telling me that this trade is going against me.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that trend line.
Other
I'd
than
be
like
thinking.
a possibility.
Yeah. I was reading online just to talk about how you can make yourself filthy rich if you can figure out how to take 50 pips a week out of the market. Or really not even that many, by trading a lot less.
100%.
The last trade that I took was the one that we broke down on, I forgot what, I think it was the Wednesday session. So then price got very close to my like partial area, but it wouldn't break past. So I just closed out the entire trade, and then it came back and took me out. But the last like good trade that I had for like a good amount of pips was when the interest rates from the UK came out. And then after that, just being patient.
Yeah. Is this good, or do you want me to
no,
wait?
that's fine.
Okay.
Close,
Percentage?
yeah, close 50% and then move to break even. So now the purpose of moving to break even is that, again, this being the 15-minute time frame, and then we'll do the same thing on the 30-minute as well, is that there's no reason why price should be breaking below this area, given that, you know, you just broke past all these highs, even up top here, for example, you just broke past all these highs right here. So I'm going to give it enough room where it could come back, you know, retest if you want, and then continue pushing back up.
And we're risk-free.
Yeah, completely risk-free and taking partials, and then we could check the 30-minute, 1 hour, 4 hour. As long as they're all in a line, it doesn't really matter. So 30-minute, same thing, pushing. Was that 1 hour?
This is the 1 hour right now.
Yeah, so now in the 1 hour, what are we doing to the left? So look at where price is kind of fluctuating. Consolidation, right? Wick rejections. What are wick rejections? Think about that, right? Consolidation into these areas here. So what is price essentially doing? There should be no reason for it, if it's going to continue bullish, to break below any of these areas that it just broke above.
Yeah. Just cleared them. You guys got any questions on YouTube? You guys have any questions?
I'm good.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Of course. What's up, Carlos?
What's up? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Yeah, I feel good. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Getting a lot out of this?
Oh yeah, for sure, man.
Good shit, man. How are those Saints doing today?
Nah, they lost today.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was watching. I didn't have to do you like that. The Jets sucks. It's a beautiful trade over here. Complete correction of the London move. And also, if you take a look, we did create the higher low right over here. Right?
Yep.
And also, if you actually... You see that? That's where you get that rejection from. right? We were in this consolidation, but we were still making higher highs or higher lows right over here. Then we ended up doing the same thing, respecting that area, coming right back up to that trend line, and then we just came right back again. So we are on an overall bullish trend. Like I said, we could always come up and retest 156 again before continuing right back down. So, again, trade what you see, not what you think.
Yep.
There was a lot of inefficiency in the market also, wasn't there?
Inefficiency with?
I mean, or, I don't know, what do they call it? Where,
Volatility?
Indecision?
No, imbalance.
Okay. Yeah.
Didn't you see that?
No,
Like,
yeah, 100%.
where it's going down. So maybe it's going to...
Yeah, it's basically consolidating. There you go, TP hit. Good shit, Sharma.
Perfect.
What was that?
Perfect.
Yeah, almost bagged 3% on that. That was awesome.
Yeah.
So, perfect example of how you can kind of take these little scalps, and we called it from down here, right? I was just unwilling to take this. I was content just sitting out, but this was a great trade. As we were saying, this whole level over here, we needed to close above. We got the higher low right here, price flip bullish. Sharma capitalized, get some moves over here that you could be mirroring. Then we ended up clearing that area, right? And that was
very nice trade.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Very nice trade.
So if Kat is here from YouTube, like her question about buys and sells and like higher time frame, lower time frame bias, our higher time frame bias is still bullish, right? In the 4 hour, you saw that correction happening, and then you wait for lower time frames to kind of align with what's happening. So we're trading what we see, right? Not so much of like, this is my bias, this is all I'm sticking to. You got to understand, like, higher time frame is bullish, and then now we start looking for trade opportunities that kind of align with that, making sure that everything is in a line.
Are we looking for opportunities here as it retests this level?
Yeah, so then now what I would do is I would go up to the 4 hour time frame. So you just broke that bearish structure to the downside. Now, can I see a retest on the hourly or on the 4 hour? And then if I see a retest of this level and then continuation up, then yeah, potential buy opportunities. If price just taps into these areas, again, it's consolidation after consolidation, right? You got consolidation down here, you've got consolidation, this huge consolidation right here, and this overall zone that we're sitting in, the big, all of this is consolidation that Stefano's made a huge box around, this entire thing right here. All of this is just consolidation. So now price could simply just come back, grab some more liquidity, maybe even tap into that higher time frame bearish structure and then continue pushing down. So now you ask yourself, well, what do I need to see happening here? I personally want to see a bearish candle come down and maybe close below these areas, clear out all of this consolidation. I'm not willing to take a trade here. And then as it continues down, then we wait for a correction of this entire move down, and that's the trade opportunity that I would look for. So close below here and then clear out these areas.
So now also say you're me and say this was the live market. Say you just missed this trade, right? Every single time you miss a trade like this, you got to go back, journal the trade, and see how you could have caught it.
Yep.
And if you want to go all the way down to the 1 minute, just to see those little points that you could have secured a little bit or done any of that, maybe you don't need to do that. But I'm just saying, like, there's always room for improvement on every single trade, even what seems like a perfect win.
Absolutely. And take screenshots of these setups too, these details.
100%.
So that 1-to-1 trade that we took, it could have easily be turned into 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 had I kept my stop loss even tighter.
So this is nice. Nice bullish run over here.
Any questions at all from anyone?
I'm good. Thank you.
I'm good, thank you.
Alright.
Like that little air horn?
Yeah.
Awesome, dude.
Awesome.
Alright, did you want to go through one more session or do we want to hop on to...
I think that was a lot.
Okay.
I mean, I think we just dropped a lot of like knowledge, so that you guys could take this into next week. I think another session, like I think we just naturally like talking about trading. So like us doing another session would mean another hour and a half.
Yep.
So I got a lot to do for the week coming up. So
Yeah.
let's get into a full breakdown for the week. Bring up some articles, see what we got focused on, and hope you get a lot out of this backtesting session and the way to think about your pair while you're in the market and what to do before taking a trade, and then also after the trade if you miss the trade.
Yep.
Right. So let's get into a breakdown. I gotta clear my charts. Yeah, I would love to do these more often.
Yeah, me too.
So I think they're great. I'm a big believer in practice. So it doesn't make perfect, but it makes it a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Yeah, really, really helpful for me.
All right, cool. So, Sharma, do you want to share your screen and then?
Yeah, let's do the fundamental, and then let's go ahead and do the technical with Stefanos.
So you share your screen. I'm gonna get my stuff ready. My charts.
Did they decide to keep Powell? Do you know?
Well, Biden hasn't announced yet, and that's one thing that we're about to probably get into. I'm sure Sharma's going to touch on that, but
Yep.
That's one thing that's keeping the markets kind of, guessing.
Yep.
Sharma, you sharing your screen?
Yeah, give me 1 second here. I have to share a different screen here.
Just a second. There we go.
Lit. Alright, cool. Let's go through this real quick. Move this here. Perfect. Everyone can see my screen?
Yes, I
Even
can.
on YouTube, everyone's
Yeah,
good?
I can see.
You can see it, bud. Or Sharma, I'm reading some of these comments on
No worries.
YouTube while you're doing this.
No worries. Alright,
just
so
gonna
let's
answer
start
that.
off with some US news. So economics, this is about the Fed. So since you asked, we're going to start off with this one first. So in February, we have like this indecision whether Powell's going to stay on or is somebody else going to come on to the Federal Reserve as a chair. And so they're going to be running. Who's going to be running the Federal Reserve in February is the question right now. This is very important because whoever comes in, whether Powell stays on or somebody else comes in, this is going to affect the decisions that are going to be being made at the Fed, especially with the monetary policies, right? And so right now we have inflation, which is a huge concern, and you will see this as we go through these different articles where inflation is now not just a concern in the United States, but it's a concern in Europe, it's a concern in the UK, it's a concern in Japan is one of them as well, in a lot of different countries, right? So now whatever monetary policies that come out in December or even in January, in February, March, whatever, what are some potential repercussions that we can see, right? So at the moment, exactly what they're talking about, inflation, and then also eroding the confidence of policymakers that inflation will cool in coming months as they once assumed. That may force them to pivot faster towards tighter monetary policy as soon as December. So what does that essentially mean? First off, they're going to have to start off by signaling a faster tapering of bond purchases by updating forecast to signal a more aggressive interest rate hiking cycle than previously anticipated. So in order for you to healthily increase your interest rates, you have to taper first, right? You have to take back all the money that you have, or majority of the money that you have already put into the economy. And because of the pandemic, we know that there has been a lot of different methods that they have done this. Well, the first one is by giving out stimulus checks, right? The second way is in the UK, where the government was paying 80% of the wages while also helping employees be trained with more skill sets. And then there's just, a lot of different methods, the way that money has been put into the economy. So then how do you take all that money back without really hindering that confidence of consumers? If your consumers are not confident enough in spending money right now, you're never getting out of that accommodative monetary policy. And I mean, you could try to, but you're going to go right back into a recession and all that type of stuff. So in the UK, for example, where in October, I believe, they were playing off this huge sentiment, this bullish sentiment of we're potentially going to increase interest rates, but they never ended up doing it, right? And so we're going to see why they didn't do that either. But that's the main thing, where you cannot increase your interest rates without tapering. They didn't taper or talk about tapering at all. They were just trying to play this bullish sentiment of we are going to increase interest rates without even talking about any sort of pulling money back whatsoever. So that's something that you guys want to be watching out for, like who are we leaning towards and who's going to be leading the Federal Reserve going into next year, because that's going to make a huge impact on the dollar strength, of course, but also overall what are the monetary policies and what can we expect. Were you going to say something?
No, I was agreeing.
Oh, okay, cool. And then as we
see who it is.
Yep, exactly. And so Powell and Brainard and colleagues agreed that it would be appropriate to keep borrowing costs ultra low until maximum employment was reached, which they redefined as a broad-based and inclusive goal. Officials made much fanfare of the wider scope of maximum employment. So there's two goals of the Federal Reserve: price stability and maximum employment. Price stability is inflation, control inflation, and then maximum employment, what they started doing is focusing more on the different demographic groups, and they actually mentioned that in the monetary policy reports as well, right, that they were focusing on specific demographic groups and they want to see the employment numbers picking up there. And right now what we have is still that disconnect between people, jobs opening up and people actually going and getting jobs. So now, ever since unemployment benefits for majority of the states expired in the United States itself, people were forced to go and get jobs, even though they didn't want to go back to the sectors that they were working in previously, right? So they were forced to go back and get jobs, but still that disconnect is still huge. So it's still not aligning, but we're starting to see some improvements there. You also want to be paying attention to the infrastructure bill that came out, right? Because that's putting a ton of money into a lot of different sectors across the economy. So you are going to see emerging sectors coming out, and you are going to see jobs opening up there as well. And now you want to see, well, people have the skill sets, especially technical skill sets, to go work in those sectors. So that's some of the key points here, and then as you go further down into the article, you're going to continue to see some more details, and you're obviously going to see like what would be the two different types of strategies that they would come in with, and what are their main concerns, which is again price stability and also maximum employment. Any questions on this one before we go ahead and move forward?
No, I don't.
All right.
Thank you.
Cool. So Bailey justifies Bank of England's stance, saying that inflation risks are two-sided. So economic activity is slowing down and the supply side issues are stoking prices, underlying the two-sided debate over inflation. So we all knew this was part of it. This is something that we have been talking about in our weekly outlooks, that there's no way that they're going to increase the interest rates without tapering and without considering inflation whatsoever. The proximate cause of many of these inflation issues is on the supply side. We know that there's a supply chain issue that's happening worldwide. It's not just in the UK, it's not just in the US, it's happening everywhere, right? Even if you're trying to order like furniture, for example, right now online, you're not getting that for the next couple of months or so. So that's just on the very basic level. Like, it's happening across sectors. That was just one example. But even with oil, even with energy prices and things like that, even they're having supply side issues, right? Where if you trade USD CAD or oil, you should be following OPEC. And over the last couple of days, there was news about even Biden, for example, trying to pressure OPEC, and a lot of other leaders trying to pressure OPEC into producing, or actually allowing more supply. And OPEC's like, we don't have the demand to just do that yet, right? So again, there's still supply side issues over there. So that's the whole, pretty much reiterating whatever we have said in the past couple of weekly outlooks already, where they're not going to increase interest rates until they taper, and that's not going to happen until you start to see better macroeconomic conditions happening. Any questions whatsoever?
Not here. Thank you. That's very helpful.
Great, thanks.
Awesome. So he acknowledged that the bank had underestimated inflation due to the unprecedented spike in gas prices, and this is something that even Boris Johnson was talking about, that hey, get used to these new prices, get used to energy prices increasing. So I don't go through all the details just for the sake of time. I don't want to bore you guys with 40 minutes of just fundamental analysis, but you can come back and you can take a look and legit just copy paste this into Google and you will see the same exact article popping up, even if you don't have Bloomberg. But these are some of the key points that you want to be watching out for. Bank of England officials add to questions on December rate rise. Same thing, pretty much that we talked about in the previous article, but this is going to go into a little bit of more details. So the questions that they are raising about the certainty of an interest rate increase in December, noting that the decision would be finally balanced. The main concerns again being inflation, around energy prices, of course, and same thing at like employment. You want to pay attention to what's happening with inflation in general. You want to pay attention to what's happening even with COVID. Are people being able to come back to work and in person, or is it work from home? Do you need to continue adding more money to the economy? What's happening with the consumer confidence and things like that? So this is just more details if you want to go ahead and follow that even more closely. And again, the article is right here. And then this is another thing that we could watch out for, which is inflation creeping in across Japan. I'm just going to go over this really quickly, where it's just giving you like some personal stories about certain consumers and everything like that. But this is just goes to show the point that on a macro perspective, we are starting to see inflation, not just in US or UK, you're going to see it everywhere. So every time there's someone from, Bank of Japan or any central bank, and they're talking about increasing interest rates, you want to make sure they're also mentioning something about tapering, and they're mentioning something about inflation. It's not just affecting 2 to 3 countries, it's affecting everywhere. And then finally going into some Brexit, where France toughens tone on fish dispute as UK talks drag on. So last time around the same year, or last year around the same time, you had Brexit conversations going on, right? Where they kept pushing this deadline of whether or not we're going to have a deal. Well, now this year, same thing, which is now they have post-Brexit consequences that are happening, and post-Brexit conversations that are happening at the moment, where they're talking about whether or not to invoke Article 16, and now they're having these discussions that they're not able to kind of agree on at all. There's still huge significant gaps, and then we start to see some news about we have some updates, and we're progressing, we're doing a little better, but it's the same sentiment that we saw that was being pushed last year as well. So it's really nothing different. Now, make sure when you're reading these fundamentals, you're also understanding what kind of sentiment are they trying to play along with. Are these things really adding up with whatever has been said the past couple of weeks? Or all of a sudden, overnight or over the weekend, that they actually start agreeing on things, and then they're willing to move forward, right? So understand what's the market sentiment like, and then align that from the technical perspective. So France is kind of toughening their tone with UK, obviously, which goes to show that there are still significant differences between the two. And then it's going to give you all the details that you might want to know as you continue down. So very short article, but come back and look this up. So you have some free resources. Forex Live, for example, is one that Stefano's introduced me to. You have Reuters, you have a lot of different websites that you can go to for information. Any questions on the macro fundamentals before we move on to the economic calendar? All right. So no fundamentals today, right? So when the market opens up and you guys are trading, if you are trading today, it's all going to be pure technical moves. So make sure you're paying attention to some of the higher time frame levels. Going into tomorrow, you have quite an easy session. You don't have much coming out in New York session. So again, it's going to be just purely technical moves. And then expect the Asian session to not have so much volume because it is a bank holiday. And then Tuesday, London session is when you start to see some volume picking up again with a ton of flash manufacturing and services PMI coming out. So this is, if you're trading fundamentals, trade the reactions to this, right? And it's back to back, so give it a couple of minutes. You might see some volume kicking in on the 15-minute, but then higher time frames, it might just end up leaving some wicks until maybe even pre-New York session, where you might see the market finally calming down and making some good moves. And then going into New York session, you have the flash manufacturing and services PMI again, and then a pretty chill day pretty much until Asian session. And then if you're trading any NZD pairs, then you want to be paying attention to interest rates. So do expect your pair to kind of consolidate right before this news comes out. And then going on to Wednesday, not so much happening in the London session, but New York session is going to be pretty cool if you're trading with fundamentals. So this is going to be a fun day, and this is also the last New York session before the bank holiday, right? So I do expect the volume to just die down for that Thanksgiving on Thursday, and then I don't expect much to be happening on Friday either, as people are going to be pretty much off both of those days. So leading up to, so pretty much today, tomorrow are going to be very chill, and then Tuesday and Wednesday are going to be the days that you want to be trading reactions to fundamentals, and then after that expect the market to kind of consolidate and chill out and all that type of stuff until going into next week.
100%.
All right, any questions? All right, go for it,
No,
Stefanos.
I'm good. We're good, I guess.
Awesome. Go for it, Stefanos.
All right, I will share my screen right now. Let's go back to Zoom. Amazing job as always.
Thank you.
Sharma.
Thank you.
So just like a little review of last week, we had retail sales come out. We had CPI come out for the pound as well. Obviously, I see retail sales are up because of the holiday season. So just take that for what it is. But it's good that we are seeing good numbers right now, especially coming out of these department stores. Macy's is doing really well. If you take a look at their stock, who else was it? Home Depot, Walmart also released their earnings. So it was a good week last week for the dollar. If you guys want to take a look at the dollar, right now we are testing highs up here. We've been in this bullish trend already, pushing up. And it's weird because we're in an inflationary time right now. But right now, I think what's going on is we're pricing in what's going on with the Fed and what they might end up doing as far as tapering soon, and also increasing interest rates. They're starting to get to that point where they really need to do it, or there's no turning back. You're going to start to, and then once they do it, let's see what happens to the stock market anyway. So we're not in the best situation. We've definitely had better times. Now, coming over here, looking at the pound yen, again, bouncing off 156 over here, made that high at 158, and we ended up closing below 156 on the month, last month in October. Now November's been all bearish. Let's actually zoom in a little bit more. So we've been all bearish over here, right? We're also coming into a very key area. We had that bullish run since COVID, right? And also the multi-year downtrend over here, the price could be retesting and then continuing up. But like I said during the sim session, I don't know about the pound right now. Like, we're starting to get into, like, a lot of people are very fearful of what's going to be happening. Also tightening monetary policy, stuff like that. We have to see what ends up happening. But could we be holding 156 as a resistance? We ended up retesting it. That's what we wanted. And then all of a sudden, something happens to the market. We got to see. But again, like we were saying during the backtesting session, trade what you see, not what you think. So looking at the weekly.
Well, if you go back to the monthly real quick, you could just break it down another level too, right? Which is just narrow in into your price action again, which is you have that resistance, and you got that resistance right here that price is kind of respecting. So if, now we continue pushing back down, then where are you headed next? Down here, right? So now that would be an important level that I would mark off going to the weekly or daily or any of those levels, that if we stay above that, there you go. So now you have resistance right there as well, right? Marking right at that level. So if we stay above that, potential buy opportunities right into that area. Or if we break below it, then you got nice sell opportunities there. So just
100%.
Narrowing in even more and more and more.
Yeah, I was actually going to get into that on the weekly, because I think you could see a little bit clearer. But yeah, as you can see, the previous resistance, right? A couple candles reacting to this level as well. You get that wick, and then also this previous resistance. So are we going to hold this area as a key level, as a nice support, before we continue right back up and we test these highs up here at 158? Looking at the weekly, as you guys could see right now, and if you want like a little background on the fundamentals, this whole move up to 158, 200 was all sentiment. It was all people thinking that the Bank of England was going to increase interest rates, and they made it pretty clear that they were. And it was a nice little surprise in early November, that they didn't, and that's where this move came. This move over here, we were kind of consolidating up here. Well, actually, just adjust this right up there. We're actually consolidating in here, right? And, buyers came out, took profit. Now we're starting to come down a little bit, lower highs, lower lows. We're holding this previous support over here as well of 156. And then all of a sudden, Bank of England doesn't increase interest rates, and we correct this whole move. But right here, this current candle barely closed with the bottom wick. Right here. Right? And then this candle closed like a doji candle with a wick to fill. And guess what? It filled that wick. And now we have a nice, healthy, bullish candle with a wick to fill based on the weekly right now. So we're holding this support. Higher low right over here as well. So let's see what we end up doing today or tonight moving into tomorrow. Are we going to end up filling this wick? Especially after bouncing off such a level that Sharma was just pointing out.
Yep. And then even in the simulation session, exactly what we did, right? Where we created that zone right above that level. So even here, we got that entire zone. So if price can respect that, maybe you want to see like a break and retest here somewhere. And then continue pushing forward, then it's like, all right, well, minor levels right here, right? Which is this entire thing. And then next is up top, and then next is here.
100%. And I mean, we could definitely come up to 156 and tap into that right here. Yep. Let's get into the daily. Quick little breakdowns. So as you can see, we're in an overall bullish trend since COVID, right? Printing higher highs up here. But currently, like what we were going over during the backtesting session, is right now we are in a bearish trend, right? And you got to keep that in mind. We know that in the overall we're bullish on GJ, but right now the monthly, the weekly, and the daily are all bearish, printing lower lows and lower highs. Coming into here, you get this previous resistance. Now we're forming our support. We kind of had like a little fake out right over here of this level before price came right back up and ended up retesting this level right here. Right, and pushing right through it, closing above it. Then we ended up getting a nice little rejection right here. This is on the 17th of last week. So we get that rejection. Price taps into this area, which is what we were looking at on our live sessions. Tap into that area, we reject it. Also validate this bearish trend over here, right? This candle ended up like forming a support. We ended up rejecting. Price passed the high of that candle right away, rejected this bearish trend, and ended up passing the low of that candle, coming right back into this range. Now we're in a bearish trend. We now see that we just got a fake out with a bearish trend. What normally happens when you get a fake out in the higher time frames in such a nice bearish trend like that? We end up breaking through that support, or at least tapping into that support, which we already did with this candle. But could we be continuing right back down? Possibly. But again, we're holding this support. So this is going to be tricky to trade in. We got to see it on the lower time frames. But what happens if we do break this support right over here? Could we take price right back into this area? These would be, I think, safer sells. If you're going to take sells, instead of taking them in here, you're waiting for this move right here. A fairly clean move right here.
Yep.
Right? Anything that you want to point out?
No, just those two.
Okay, so the 4 hour now. Previous from last week, very strong bearish move right over here that we ended up getting last week, which is awesome. I think we had a nice setup over here too. Happened during I think London, yes, and then it kind of continued in New York. Now I remember that trade, and then we ended up kind of like retesting that area. But looking over here, we created a low, bouncing off that area. Could we be coming up here to retest this area up here? Hold a resistance and continue down. This current candle already retested that area. We get the bearish close on the 4 hour. The 4 hour right over here looks like it's forming that top wick and it's starting to flip bearish, right?
Yep.
Could we be continuing right back down to retest this wick? Also,
look at what just happened to that level to the left too, right? Where it's rejecting it right now.
Right here?
This entire thing.
Oh, yes. Like holding this support?
Right. resistance. You got those wick rejections right there. You got a
Mhm.
nice break and retest before that massive bullish volume to the upside. So if you're narrowing in even more, this is probably not the area where you want to be looking for any swing trade opportunity. Scalp, maybe. So now if it breaks, retest, continues down, potential trade.
Absolutely. And again, this is your clearer area.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I like charting on this so much better than MetaTrader. It's a nightmare, especially on Soft4fx. I'm complaining too much. Alright, so yeah, if we break that support right over here, we got a fairly clean move coming right back down into this area. If you want to narrow it down even more, yeah, like a move right into here, right? Looking at the 1 hour, now we narrow it down. 1 hour, you get the 200 EMA over here, holding a resistance on the 1 hour, right? But you have the support that Sharma just pointed out, and if you go to the left, we'll take a look. There you go. Multiple rejections.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the 1 hour. This is not the 5 minute. So we're holding this support. We need to close below that area for us to grab and move to potentially take this down realistically 60 pips right here with a cleaner move, right? You could take this. I would say higher risk, higher reward, but if we break 152, 400, you got a nicer move knowing that we're definitely going to be bearish. Well, I shouldn't say definitely, but there's a good chance. You really don't need to go to the 30-minute, but looking over here, if we get that close below, maybe wait for the retest, and then you can take this right back down. I don't know why this horizontal line's here. Previous support right there. So again, is it 50 pips? Right back down to retest this low. That's what we're looking for. We're below both EMAs, but right here, if we end up breaking resistance over here, you just do the same thing Sharma did during the back testing. Wait for that break and retest right over here. Candles closing in your direction. Get a nice clean move. We could definitely be coming up. There is a chance that we could come up, break this, and come up into this area to retest this whole area to the left.
Yep.
Right? We could definitely be coming up. And then we end up consolidating here. Tapping into that trend line and then maybe continuing down.
Mm-hmm.
So just, you got to have different thoughts in your head of what can happen. Map different trades out. That's where the confidence starts to come in. So just mark it up, take a screenshot of it, save it, and see what ends up happening. That's how you get better.
Yep.
So that's what we're looking at for GJ. Don't be surprised if we end up consolidating for a while, right? Like I said, they need to see more data. We need to hear more from the Bank of England and their direction. How hawkish are they? And we move from there. But until then, we may not get any kind of like significant moves. Or unless we break this support right over here, technically we could start free falling a little bit. Because right now, think about it, the market's in a risk off mood with inflation and everything going on. So people are investing into the yen, right? Taking the money out of the pound, get some breaks and tensions, not too bad, but you know, they're always bickering. They've been. So nothing new there. But yeah, just keep those things in mind. Off to gold.
Yep.
All right. So again, we've been in this bullish trend over here after reaching all-time highs. We've broken down the fundamentals of where gold is now and why it's there. But we created that all-time high with COVID, and then we ended up entering this recovery phase, retesting this previous area. You got a very similar price action over here. We always pointed out. But right now, we are bullish. We are holding support. What do people do in inflationary environments? They invest in gold, a hard, tangible asset that they could sell on the market. They can make jewelry out of it. It's a tangible asset.
It has value regardless of its form.
Exactly. And it's always going to appreciate, I think.
Yep.
The older it gets. So, again, we're holding support over here. That previous level that we pointed out multiple times, they work candle body highs over here. right?
Yep.
This whole area, price is trying to form or hold a support at these previous candle body highs, and right now it's succeeding at that. So tapping off of 1680, we tapped into it one more time with some really positive NFP over here. And then we ended up snapping back, holding above that level again, holding a nice bullish support over here with this candle, right? And then this candle never passed the low, flip bullish. This would have been a nice move. It's almost 1,000 pips right there for you. That you could have grabbed. I was not worried, but I was paying attention to 1830. 1830 over here is a significant level. Previous resistance over here that we can mark, but I'm gonna mark those off and some of these other levels off on the weekly. Anything else on the monthly?
I would mark off the 1900 level as well, but also right into these areas.
Got that wick tapped into that area and ended up rejecting it.
Yep.
So yeah, let's go down to the weekly and we'll mark some of these other levels off. 1900, obviously a very significant level. Previous weekly candle last week closed bullish, a very strong bullish candle, but with no top wick at that area of 1900 that Sean was pointing out. So significant level up here. 1830 is something that I've been paying close attention to over here. Previous candle body highs and these wick rejections over here finally exited this consolidation. So what I was telling you guys for a while, this was the only trade I would have taken right here in this consolidation. Other than that, I would have stayed out of this. Even these moves on the lower time frames are just a mess. So we finally got that breakout, right? And you could have caught a nice move over here at the end of last week, or the week before that. We get a clean move to the left. These are the moves you look for, you wait for. Yep. These below the support are the moves that you wait for. Looking at the daily, we ended up creating that resistance or holding that resistance at that previous support. And if you go to the left, you got even more. Right, previous support, rejection area, all in this whole area. You could always mark it off like this, but price obviously is going to be tapping off an area like that. Let's see. But right now, we broke our nearest support right here. So this was our range. We just broke out of it. You got a clean move to the left. Could we be coming down to 1830 to retest that level?
Yep, and think about what's the setup going to look like for that.
On the daily or?
Yes, on the daily, like what's the daily candle, the 4 hour, all these different time frames. As you're going across these time frames, as Stefanos is breaking down these levels for you, think about what's the potential setup. We just went through a simulation session. We've seen how these different time frames should look for potential moves, and so now kind of use that to figure out what's the setup that you're looking for when you're looking for your trade opportunities in the market this week.
Perfect. Now also, again, like we were doing with the backtesting session, be aware of taking sells right now. You got to wait for levels to break and you get those retests because, fundamentally right now we're pretty bullish with everything going on in the world. So again, Sharma pointing out we could get that retest over here and continue right back down.
Yep.
But that's what I would be looking for. We just got that low point created. Now we ended up rejecting this level right here. So maybe I would want to wait for a close below that area before I end up taking this move right here. This is perfect right here. These zones here on gold are what you wait for. 117 pips. You could just get a nice little free fall right there if we end up getting that.
Yep.
There was an example last week. I think it was the GJ's trade that I took that we could have gotten it. I was pointing out how we could have gotten the London tank, right, on Friday by basically reading the candles to the left, and it basically mirrored the exact candle that it created right to the left. Same wick, same body, same everything. So you can get the same exact thing right over here. So just be aware of that. But right now we are rejecting that level. So could we be coming back into this range? right? I think we're pretty bearish from here, and we may be coming back down to 1830, but you have that secondary bias.
So same thing
Knowing
here,
what
like
also could happen.
so same thing here. Go on like the daily or the 4-hour time frame, whichever ones. You have a bullish structure that's being formed, right? And then what you're talking about, pretty much, I'm just gonna draw that out for everyone here, where it's like look for, okay, where does the structure break? Is this a structure break? Sure. Is it a retest? Not yet. Right? You want to wait for a retest in these areas and then a continuation down. As you break below this, that's the zone that Stefanos is talking about. That's where you take your sell opportunity to the downside.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid of actually drawing it out. It's your chart. No one else is really looking at it.
Yeah, 100%. Looking at the 1 hour?
Yep.
Nice little rejection. All right. We are below the 200 EMA over here, too. After, holding this resistance, you got the lower highs over here.
Yep.
Right? We're starting to get exhausted over here. So we got that bearish market starting to come in a little bit, but I would want to wait. I would want to stay out of this pretty much and wait for us to break this. 30-minute. We did create that low. Let's see if we end up retesting this area. Let's see if it's significant. Yeah, you got a little support over here. But again, I would still want to wait for price to close below here before I take this back down.
Yep.
All right, so just be aware of that. I would stay out of buys over here, right? Unless we get a nice, clean, bullish retest over here, bullish candles closing. Could maybe mirror this candle if you get the volume like we did during the backtesting session. But I would really stay out of all this.
Yep.
All right, starts to get a little sticky up here.
All right, awesome. So I think that's about it for the session here. So even with going into this week, you only have really like 3 days. So Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Thursday, you're going to have no volume pretty much in New York session. And then also Friday is going to be pretty much the same thing. So really make sure, like we were talking about before we started the stream, if you guys are not journaling, this is going to be the best time to actually start journaling. The market conditions are going to start changing very soon. As you're going into holidays, you will see a lot more volatility in the market, not so much volume. And so you want to start journaling, you want to start looking at potential setups, go back and back test, maybe even last year, what happened around this time, purely from a technical perspective, and then maybe put in some fundamental and understand what happened. The market was still moving. There were still 300, 600, 700 pip moves that were still happening on the daily and weekly time frames. Take a look at how can you be part of that, right? So journal as much as you can. We also have a video on that. So if you go to our Secrets of Trading playlist, then you can see exactly how to journal and what's a trading plan and all that type of stuff. So be sure to journal. Be sure to look at your charts from higher time frame perspective and lower time frame. Don't just go from daily to 15-minute and then skip everything in between. You need those different time frames and you need those levels.
Guys, you guys got to understand that you got a month left before the holiday season where, you could take a few days off a little bit. I normally stop trading until around January 5th. January 5th, January 6th, I think it was this past year.
Yep.
Because that was the Monday. I started really looking at the market again and really digging into everything. Obviously, I already was over the Christmas break, but like setting up trades for me to take for the week. So you got a month until that point, right? Yep. It's November 21st. So the 21st of December is normally when I take a break anyway. So guys, just keep that in mind. Make sure that you're getting the most out of yourself and you're pushing yourself until that point. Put yourself through a little mini boot camp until December 21st.
Yep.
Up until that point. Make sure you're getting the most out of yourself. You're sticking to what you say you're going to do. And just keeping your nose at the grindstone and getting the most out of yourself, because a lot of you guys may be making progress right now, but you're nowhere near where you want to be.
Yep.
And you just got to keep your head down and keep working.
Yep.
Even if you see a little success, who cares? Let's go. Have a little celebration for yourself if it's like a withdrawal or you hit a milestone or something like that. But get right back to work and put your head down and get after it, because you got a lot of goals. I know a lot of you guys do. Right? There's a reason you're in my group or Sharma's group. You guys have more on your mind than most people do.
Yep.
You have more aspirations than what the average person does. Right? So make sure you're getting the most out of yourself, and it's not always going to be your whole life of just sacrificing.
Yep.
You're going to be able to enjoy some of this, all that work that you're putting in right now.
And we can speak to that. Even Chris can speak to that. We just had a video with him, and so many people loved it. But yeah, so create a game plan for yourself. I know Stefanos and I were working with our students and making sure that everyone's ending the year off with a bang. So if you have a friend who's trading, and sit down with them, and I guess create a game plan, figure out how do we make sure that we end the year off winning. This is the time, because of the volatility and everything like that, where a lot of people who are not seeing constant profits, or even people who are seeing constant profits, they get caught up in the spiral of losses because they forget the bigger picture. They don't have that game plan. They don't understand the conditions have changed. You cannot trade in November, December, January like you used to trade in June or July or something like that. It's holidays. People, a lot of the big players are pretty much on vacation.
Yep.
Right? So
100%. A lot of volatility.
Yep. All right. Awesome. So we will have our Wednesday session, right? Our New York session, Stefanos and I together, and this is the weekly outlook. You got the simulation session, so go back, take a look at these if you want a refresher. Other than that, trade safe, everyone.
Yes, absolutely. And also, if we don't see you guys, happy Thanksgiving. If you celebrate it, enjoy it with your family a little bit, and don't, this is a light week, right? You're going to have a heavy week in the beginning, and then it just kind of drops off from there. And maybe take the day off on Friday, back test. Don't do too much. Friday is really a day, think about it. All these big bankers, investors, all of them are home with their families after Thanksgiving. They can't move, It's just enjoy the weekend and make sure you're really pushing yourself, because next week is really where all right, some of that volume is going to start to come in a little bit. Volatility. I'm putting my back against the wall, and I'm going to be in some kind of a boot camp until that winter break.